Buongiorno, welcome everyone to another episode of Yogaphora Conversations. Today I have the honor of having an amazing guest with us today at the CIBC Place building in Brentwood. We have Claire Beerbower. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Good, all right. So welcome back to my wellness series. I'm Andrea Spadafora, founder of Yogaphora LLC, where I bring professional massage therapy, yoga, and conversations about transformation together in one place. Today I'm honored to sit down with a truly inspired guest, Claire Beerbower. Beerbower. Claire is a creative catalyst, yoga teacher, narrative guide, and co-founder of Eso Terra. I say it with the Italian accent, Terra. A global foundation devoted to radical access to holistic healing for women. Her path is woven through teaching high school literature, leading wilderness expeditions, so cool, you're going to hear a lot more about it, writing and editing books, guiding retreats, and now offering spaces where people can engage courageously in artful embodied experiences. In this conversation, we'll explore the power of storytelling, creative life force, women's leadership, the dance between feminine and masculine energies, and what it means to live from a place of non-duality, one of my favorite subjects. I'm so excited to dive in with Claire. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you.
I've met Claire at Blue Sky Yoga Studio. Just right off the bat, she teaches an amazing Kundalini yoga class every Thursday at 7:30 a.m. Blue Sky Yoga Studio, 3525 Watson Road, St. Louis, Missouri. All right, buongiorno, benvenuta. You have some beautiful blue eyes. I'm a sucker for blue eyes, so there's nothing I can do about it.
Thank you.
Claire, take us back. What first drew you into storytelling and education?
Wow, well, I've always loved stories since I was a kid. I've loved reading. I would ask my teachers to skip recess so I could stay inside and read like a total nerd. But then getting into teaching was an absolute accident. So I had been doing a bunch of menial jobs and I decided to go apply to be a substitute teacher.
Where was this? Because you are from where?
I'm from St. Louis,
from St. Louis,
and I started at Westminster Christian Academy, middle school and high school. And
so your background is actually Christian.
Yes, which I would love to talk about more later. But I loved it so much, and so I ended up going back and getting my master's in my undergrad's in English, and then I got my master's in secondary ed, and ended up teaching there for 7 years, and then taught for a couple of years in North Carolina.
Wonderful. Good. So becoming a teacher, did you already have a predisposition to being a teacher, like public speaking and just want to be out there in front of a class, spotlight on you?
Yeah, teaching is in my family, but it was never something that I was like, ooh, I want to be a teacher. Honestly, because I saw my aunts, great aunts struggle financially with being a teacher, and I saw how much it required of them, of their energy. It's a very intense job.
It is.
And so I was like, no, I don't ever want to do that. And then it did feel just very natural. And so I really love working with teenagers, which shocked me, honestly. I don't love spending a lot of time with small children. It's just not my bent. But teenagers, they're in that really cool transition space between like kid and adult, and they're just so creative, and I learned
an emotional depth.
Yeah,
too, right?
yes, so many emotions. So I just loved it, yeah.
What did your student teach you during your 10 years as a high school ELA teacher? ELA stands for those who don't know, English as a second language, correct?
English language arts.
Language arts. Okay.
Yeah, so just English, literature, writing, so much. So much. Well, I came in with I'm naturally kind of a sarcastic person, and I learned very quickly that that does not translate well with teenagers. So they taught me how to soften my approach as a teacher, meet students where they are as individuals, and every single student learns differently, and that's a huge challenge for a teacher, but I loved that challenge of what makes you tick, what are you interested in, how can I get you curious about learning?
Sure.
Because that curiosity is so important.
Of course.
And a lot of our traditional schooling just kind of like squashes that.
Totally.
So.
When you're a teenager, you sometimes lack direction, so the teacher has played an instrumental role into setting up those guys for success, right? You know, finding the one unique direction, getting to know what their talent is. So now, how did wilderness expeditions influence the way you guide people today? So let's switch topic to your second career.
Yes, so this was through Westminster. I had the opportunity to kind of co-lead this experiential education program. So the concept was we got kids outside because a lot of these students had never backpacked and maybe they'd done some hiking, but like no camping. A lot of them were very new to this.
What about you? Did you?
I was very new to it too. And the founder came to me and said, "Hey, would you like to be a guide?" And they're 10-day backpacking trips. So they would go out to Washington and Oregon, South Dakota. We'd go to the Badlands. We took trips to New Mexico and Arizona, and you know, you're carrying everything on your back, and it felt like almost an initiation for myself and for these students, because you're reaching a limit of your physical capability and your mental capability that you didn't really know you had.
Right.
So we're summiting these mountains, we're, you know, doing all the primitive things that
testing your survival skills.
Absolutely. And your perseverance, your own mental strength. You know, you think, I can't do this, I can't do this. And as a guide, I had to continue to be like, yes, you can. Where in my own mind, I'm like, oh God, can I do this? You know?
Right. So developing self-esteem in a sense, right? Self-esteem, belief in yourself.
Yes.
Which I always say is one of the most powerful things in the world.
It is.
When did you know it was time to leave the traditional classroom?
Well, I have a two-part answer for that. So I knew it was time to leave Westminster because I was personally moving away from organized religion. And so Christian dogma started to feel like not the right fit for me. And so then through a series of events, it was very clear to me that it was time to leave. And that was a heartbreak because it's an incredible school. I had so many amazing relationships with students and teachers there, but it was no longer aligned for me. And so for me to keep showing up in that classroom, inauthentically teaching things that I was like, I'm not down with this anymore, couldn't do it. So I initially left teaching in 2018, moved to North Carolina with my husband at the time, and then started teaching there at a charter school. We went through COVID and all of that insanity, and I really...
This is recent, like, you know, last 4 years.
I taught there 2019 through 21, and I really felt like I wanted to get my students through the mess that was COVID in terms of in the classroom. That was the most challenging time of my professional career. But then at the end of that...
Next question is, what was the scariest part of that leap in 2021?
Yeah. Well, as a teacher, it's your whole identity. And you're doing this work that feels so important. You're like, I'm changing lives, I'm impacting students. And when I felt the push again, that like, actually maybe teaching is not for me anymore, again, fundamentally, I didn't agree with how they were approaching education. And I thought we should be teaching so many different things about self-awareness, how we're designed, how we learn, our skills and our gifts for the world. And the things that I was trying to do within the traditional education system just wasn't being received. And so that's, again, was there was a dissonance for me, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. So the biggest challenge or fear for me was like, well, who am I if I'm not a teacher? And also the financial piece, right? Well, then if I'm not a teacher, what am I going to do?
Exactly. So there's an identity piece and a financial piece, of course, which sometimes are tied together because most people tend to tie the self-worth with the net worth, right?
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, being a teacher, you're not getting a whole lot of net worth in terms of financial compensation.
You get some benefits, you get some level of benefits, right? Health insurance or whatnot.
Sure. And I did reach a point where I felt like the message I was putting out to the universe was that the work, my value, that I was okay receiving the bullshit salary for what the work I was doing. And that no longer felt right for me either.
You were putting in a lot of energy, there's a lot of energy output, but there's not a whole lot of energy coming back in.
You're putting your whole self into teaching.
Absolutely.
You know?
And it's not just about teaching the classes itself, but it's all the prep work, the exam preparation and handling the tension and the students just thrust at
Right.
you. I remember I was there when I was the instructor for nutrition and exercise and movement therapy for the manual therapist in Greeley from 2017 to 2019. But so you mentioned that there was something about the Christian dogma that was probably one of the biggest obstacles for you, or sort of you wanted to detach from that identity. When we talk about Christian dogma, we sometimes one of the stinking parts are the guilt-based mentality, right?
Yeah.
There's, if you commit certain things or if you behave in a certain way, you might be eventually punished in the form of having to go through purgatory and hell
Forever.
Right. So that is the part that for me has been one way to has been my pathway to wanting to explore something else. I came from Italy, as you know, so in Italy you can only be Christian. You can either Christian or you're Christian. That's it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small country, really, in comparison to other ones, but 60 million people packed into this big collective consciousness that is, the word of Jesus the Christ, right? Which definitely taught amazing things, including how to love unconditionally.
Absolutely.
So he arrived at a point where he started teaching from a place of the highest levels of consciousness, how to love unconditionally and release people from fear in a time in human history that was dominated by fear itself, right? Through threats, through the violence, exactly. So we'll come back to this one.
Yeah, we will.
How do you guide others to honor? This is a big one. So emotional grief. On Dr. Hawking's map of consciousness, grief is below the demarcation line of 200. So it's essentially a life-destructive emotion. How do you guide others to honor grief without losing connection to joy? Do you see grief and joy as opposite or as part of the same experience? And what is your experience with grief? Have you lost your once or fear of losing? Or tell me a little about yourself.
I fortunately have not lost people close to me. My grief currently is going through a divorce, and so that's been a whole journey of how do I allow myself to feel all of that, and also hold the excitement of like a new life and everything I'm building and the freedom to fully step into who I am. And so we can talk about this beautiful women's collective that I helped co-found called Eso Terra.
Can't wait to hear.
Yeah, and we hold these grieving circles for women around the world, and they're all virtual. But this beautiful woman, her name is Ashley Jansen, she comes on and she leads us, and her whole foundation is that grieving is actually a daily or a weekly, at the least a monthly practice. It's part of your sadhana, it's part of your daily spiritual practice. Because when we don't address the grief in our heart, grief sits in our lungs, so that leads to disease. It can lead, if we don't move it, if we don't feel it, and it becomes hard to breathe. When you have heartbreak, you feel it. It feels heavy.
In Christianity, they use the practice of confession, which is essentially venting out what's inside and having a neutral third party available for you to listen actively, right? But obviously, the penitence or the price you have to pay is you have to recite the Lord's prayers 30 times. There's certain rituals that just don't make sense.
Which can work for some people, right?
It can work for some people.
But Francis Weller he's written many books on grief. He does a lot of work with grief. And he said, I'm not going to get this perfectly, but he says something along the lines of grief carves the space within your being that allows you to hold the joy. So they are so similar and they're so linked. And I know I'm familiar with David Hawkins' levels of consciousness. I don't know how I feel about that, because when I think about like linear, I don't believe we're like constantly climbing some ladder of consciousness, but I do understand the concept of like, this is the frequency that grief is carrying.
Yes, absolutely. He talks about predominant emotional states that fluctuate in all of us.
Right,
Found yourself both in states where you feel at one with everything and everyone else, right? You experience that through some other experiences. Some people uses marijuana or other compounds, but ultimately it's understanding what love really is. Love as the ultimate law of the universe, and then transcending the illusion of separateness. That's exactly what Dr. Hawkins was trying to lead people to accomplish. I was going to tell you. So liberating grief. It's the act of transferring what's in your heart to another human being as an act of mirroring each other is what makes people feel liberated and ready to face the day in the moment. So getting rid of the past, getting rid of the anticipation of the future, and see what's available in the here and now. Right.
That's right.
So right now, in this moment, we're crystallizing a moment in human history, just the two of us, and creating some YouTube content. Hopefully it's going to be helpful for some people or some of my viewers.
Course.
So tell me, what practices keep you grounded when you are in transition?
I have to show up to the mat every single day.
Uh-huh.
My practice looks different every morning, but it does involve, with me being a Kundalini teacher, a lot of Kundalini, which is breath work, meditation, movement.
Yes.
I love any kind of dance that really allows me I love music. So blast some music in the morning, get moving.
Wonderful.
Also my people, I have such beautiful friends who have been carrying me through this challenging time, and that feels very grounding.
I've been through divorce myself, as you know, and it definitely can be felt as a death without a funeral.
It is a death, yeah.
You lose one part of yourself because you have to let go of the image created in your mind that your life is going to be next to that person, and all the projects and all the beautiful imagery that you create together. So. But like you said, it's also the opening door for the world being as your oyster, right?
Yes.
Now you can create different lifelines. You have the freedom to create brand new and new reality for yourself and for others. What role has writing played in your personal healing?
Journaling, yes. So there's this book called The Art of, oh my gosh, it's leaving me right now. But anyway, she introduces this concept of morning pages. And every day you write 3 pages in your journal, and it doesn't have to be big lofty thoughts or anything like that. It doesn't even have to be complete sentences. You're literally just whatever is in your mind, you're just getting down on the page. That brings so much mental clarity for me. I love starting my day that way, because then your brain isn't having to hold that junk, whatever it is, know. And I've also loved dream journaling. That has been really powerful for me. I used to not remember my dreams, and then when I started dream journaling, I actually started by keeping a journal next to my bed, and when I would wake up, even in the middle of the night, and anything I could remember of my dream, I would just jot it down really quickly. That trains the brain to be able to not only remember dreams, but then I was able to start lucid dreaming, and I would have dreams within dreams and thoughts within my dreams. So that's been a really fun exploration too. Dream journaling is amazing. Highly recommend.
Sounds great. Yeah, there's an act of manifestation, because our thoughts are in a waveform, right? They don't have any physicality. So by transferring the thoughts into pen and paper, it's like you're drawing something from whatever, the ether, and manifesting it in physical matter reality, right?
Absolutely.
So in quantum physics, they call it the quantum to Newtonian transition point. That means that everything in the quantum world exists as a wave, just like microwaves, radio waves, light waves. And then the waves will collapse into a particle, becoming the physical shape that you can touch, smell, and see and hear.
Right.
So there's something, the transfer of data, because we're all energy and information, the data of your thought gets transferred into ink and information on paper, which is rereadable and reaccessible for you and for other readers. That's what I like about the journaling part. What's the most surprising way your life has unfolded?
probably getting into teaching, like I said, never saw that coming. And then moving to North Carolina was really interesting. Moving to a more rural state that's Southern culture. I didn't realize how much snobbery I was bringing from growing up in a city and meeting friends there and kind of hearing myself talk to them about there's just this concept that like Southern culture is less than, or you know, when you think about in movies and TV shows, they give the dumb person a Southern accent a lot, right? So like it means dumber, it means whatever.
We got the same in Italy. We call them terroni because they are the people that all the thing that they know how to do is to work the land, so they don't have the executive function of their brain to create something that is more technological and requires science and math and all the technology. So, but yeah, we have the same thing in Italy, even in a small country. You have northern Italy and southern Italy.
Right, we always find a way to divide ourselves, don't we?
Yes.
So
Yes.
moving there was a surprise to me how much I loved it. I really, it felt like home.
Good.
And I was like, huh, never saw this coming for me. So became kind of like full hippie.
Yes.
When I moved
Because
there.
life is very simple. You know, life, if you really analyze what our bodies and our minds really need is a sense of community, number one, right? We, back in the days, we didn't even know what money was until it was invented as a universal medium of exchange to measure perceived value. But really what we need is food, water, clean water, shelter. Touch, of course, and a tribe of people that you know you can go to at any moment, you can call, knock at the door, and you're only going to be held in this beautiful warm hug of your tribe. That's probably, you know, this women retreats probably are kind of like a tribal inspired community, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And women are so tribal and so communal, and not that men aren't, but it's kind of a natural bent for women to find their people pretty quickly, right?
Wonderful. So let's talk about your storytelling, writing, and creativity. You call yourself a book doula. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so this, after I got out of teaching, this again just kind of fell into my lap, which brings me back to this reminder that the universe is always reminding me of, is that what is meant for you is easy. Not meaning we don't work for it, but meaning that the pathway there is easy. And the doors just kind of opened for me for this. So people started coming to me asking, hey, I've got this book idea. Can you help me bring it into fruition? And I found that most people really get stopped up at, they've got the idea, right? And then it's just like, now what do I do? It's literally the birthing canal of bringing that project into the world that people have so much trouble with. And I get that. It's the trouble in the beginning. That's always the hardest part. So I was able to help these clients really, first of all, activate their creativity, which is what Kundalini does.
Yes.
I did this ritual that's a mix of dancing, writing, chanting, breath, movement, all of that kind of activates that life force energy. And then we would come up with, depending on the project, ways to get them getting their story on the page.
Nice.
And that looks different for every single person.
Right.
So
that was brainstorming together. At the same
brainstorming,
time.
creative development, creating, and then one of my gifts is bringing structure to chaos. And so we would literally create the outline, create the schedule. I would hold them accountable. Like, did you write your pages? You know. So
Annie
it was
Trexel at Blue Sky, by the way, ciao Annie. So if you're listening to this, she does a vision board get together once a year for everybody, not just women. Yeah. So and she's also going to have, FYI, the Friendsgiving retreat or day. It's going to be Saturday, November 22nd at 4:30.
Cool.
So it's a relay style yoga class where all of us, including you, if you can make it, like 7 to 8 teachers lined up, and each of us teaches their style.
Wow.
6 to 7 minutes each.
I love that.
And then we stick around for the day. We get together.
Socialize.
We socialize. There will
Okay.
be drinks. There will be food.
Sharing.
And I'll be offering some chair massages too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's going to be great. How do you help people birth their stories?
Kind of what I was just explaining. It's helping them activate their own creative life force. Because once we do that,
Yes.
the putting a procedure in place is the easy part.
Right.
But for so many of us, creativity is an afterthought, right? Like we don't. And the amount of people who have said to me, "Oh, I'm not a creative person," and it's just like, like we are all creative people. It is our birthright, right?
Yes.
So we're creating when we don't know we're creating.
Michael Jackson, whenever he was interviewed, he always used to say that he didn't write the song. He was the channel.
Yeah.
That songs came through him, but he was not the author. He really surrendered the ego and the authorship to something higher, to something greater than himself.
I love that.
And that's one of the pathways that Dr. Hawkins teaches, and that's one of the pathways that I found to be the most powerful to surrender the limitations of our egos.
Yes.
So Dr. Hawkings says that everything that we can experience arises spontaneously when you surrender control out of divine grace. Spontaneously as potentiality becoming an actuality. So
Yes.
everything is in the form of potential. This building was in the form of potentiality. Somebody had to think about it first, and then through several projects, ideas, and combining skills and community, this building came together. Now, I could say the same thing for my son. My son was conceived out of an act of love, right? He was not there before 2015, and now he is a 10-year-old, amazing, beautiful boy. So he is the byproduct or a consequence of love.
Right? And each person is that unique channel, right? I also hear people say a lot like, well, I want to write, but I don't have anything new to say. I don't have anything unique to say.
Yes.
And it's like, you are the uniqueness, right?
Yes.
So if everyone's channel looks different, so it can be I do have this theory that universe, source, sends ideas down in like a cloud form, and depending on your receptivity to it, it's going to come through you in a different way than it would come through someone else, right? So it's a different version.
The previous person that I interviewed, Amanda Doyle, she was talking about her book, Missouri, Weird and Wonderful. There was Walt Disney. As you know, Walt Disney is from Missouri, or spent a good chunk of his lifetime in Missouri, and the way that they portrayed him in the book is like his face and half of just this brain part is got all this mental factory that he was able to bring thought into form that eventually became Disneyland and the movies and the cartoons that he created. Just from one person, one singular individual.
And his team. We'll give his team a shout out too.
Of course. But each one of us has been given a set of unique talents and gifts, ranked free.
Yes, that's right.
And so I call it radical subjectivity. Radical subjectivity. When you are in Tadasana, mountain pose, I often inspire the students or I guide them through this, not only the scanning of the body, but also realizing their own unique gifts that they've been given, right? What makes them super unique among 8 billion individuals in our planet Earth.
And that's what I feel we should be teaching children in
Yeah.
school.
Yes,
right?
You're right. Totally. I think my son is in a good school, but yes, he also goes to another place every Wednesday called CCL, Center for Creative Learning, where they develop more of his talents through STEM things,
cool.
science, technology, math, etc.
That's awesome.
So, can writing be a spiritual practice? Well, we just talked about that, right?
Absolutely. It's never not a spiritual practice.
It's never not a spiritual practice.
Yep.
Beautiful. So I assume you have your notebook, you have your...
I have many, many journals I've filled out over the years. I love writing poetry. Poetry is a beautiful form to play with, and people can be kind of intimidated by poetry, but in reality, it's... I have lots of different workshops and different exercises to help folks just really play with words. That's what it is.
Do you have a secret notebook that nobody can read, not even your best friend?
I did. Yes, I did. I no longer do.
All your dark thoughts, all the ideas that I think people think I'm crazy?
Because of where I'm at now, there's nothing that's off limits in terms of exploring my own darkness. My own darkness is a beautiful piece of who I am.
The shadow, as they say.
Yeah, there's no shame around that anymore. And so for the right people in my inner circle, I'm an open book.
Good.
So
Wonderful. That's awesome. What's the relationship between language and energy? Right, because you write in English in language.
yeah, and I'm even thinking of like, we do mantras in Sanskrit, right? Because Sanskrit is such a holy, sacred, poetic language, and so is Aramaic. I have some beautiful books where scholars have taken the original words of Jesus, because even though I'm no longer a Christian, you know, I love Jesus' teachings and what you were talking about with unconditional love, Christ consciousness. There is a magic that is carried in the frequency of those sounds of Aramaic and Sanskrit, and the way it moves in our mouth and on our tongue. It's activating different, pressure points and that coordinate physiologically to the body. But in terms of writing language, there is a really powerful connection between the hand, which is why I used to make students write by hand all the time. Between writing by hand and our neurological processing. And so it's strength, and also using the eyes to look at something, reading it, and it strengthens our ability to create, actually. So it's all part of, again, the creative activation. Also, I don't know if you've heard of Dr. I think it's Hashimoto or something like that. He has studied water, and he has proven that water can be programmed. And one of his experiments, he would take a glass of water and he would write a word on it: love, hate, shame. And then he would put it, a little drop, in a petri dish and freeze it, and then he would look at it under a microscope, and the design of the water as it was frozen looked either completely like a beautiful mandala, right, with sacred geometry, if the word was love or whatever. And with hate, it was like all of this dissonant. So our words carry frequency.
Definitely. Energy is information. It's the transferring of data. Like, think of me. I came from Italy. I had to switch the code from Italian into English. Now, of course, I made it into a side gig. Like, I use my bilingualism to make a few extra bucks as an interpreter, as a tutor, as a translator. Although I'm going to soon be replaced by AI, for sure.
But you serve as that bridge, too. AI can't replace that.
Absolutely. There's nothing that can replace human flesh. I am a strong believer of that.
Absolutely.
But I believe to be a good teacher, both in school, yoga, or whatever other things you may teach, is to develop a sense of clarity. Like, when you do a lesson plan for your classes, I know you have your computer in front of you, your tablet, and you have a plan for the day. There's clarity there, there's clarity here, and then you transfer through your language, through your cueing. Right, and in fact, Rose Pelosi, I did a cueing sequencing workshop with her. She's top notch. You definitely want to check her out. Megan Maley, she's another impeccable teacher when it comes to cueing. Highly recommended.
That is a skill. You have to practice it. Yeah.
Megan is so on point. She transitions people slowly, methodically, mentions every left, every right, every limb, everything is there. Because once you deliver the message with clarity, the information, then you become an attractor field. You become a public speaking figure that people want to follow, because people buy people before they buy their products or services.
Absolutely. And even you sharing earlier before that you're like, this is my specific goal in terms of my growth for my business. I want this many people. I want this amount of money. When we speak that with clarity, the universe can actually show up for us in the way that we're asking for.
Definitely. And when you when you direct your attention with intention, that's when things become powerful, right? Let's see. What stories are still waiting to be written in you?
I'm working on a book right now, actually, that has taken
any
a few
spoilers,
years.
any scoop?
I'll give a little teaser. It is a spiritual erotica using the power of sexuality as it's linked with creativity for healing and expansion and connecting with what I call divine source. Yeah, so it's been going through many iterations, so I just keep going back to it, and there's several different goddesses have come into my life and asked me to rewrite their story a little bit. So I love a good like Greek retelling, but this has been a little bit different, more in terms of I feel like I am channeling kind of a revision of some of these old stories that were told through a patriarchal lens, and now these goddesses are like, hey, we have a different story that we would like to share, and so that's been really fun.
Great. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to read it. Now let's talk about your specialty, yoga, movement, energy, right? So you specialize, or you chose a specific branch of yoga that is Kundalini yoga. So what first drew you to Kundalini? The way that I like to describe whenever I attend a Kundalini class is it's like having a caffeinated beverage without drinking anything. Just
Absolutely.
Like letting the oxygen percolate and feed every cell.
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. So tell me about first, what drew you to it?
It was during quarantine. Everyone was going online for whatever they were trying to do that had been doing in person. And it was through the Rama Institute in New York that they were offering several free breathwork sessions. And I'd heard about it, hadn't really ever done it. And so I just hopped on one night, and we were laying on our back, and it was a 2-part breath. You inhale with your belly, inhale with your chest, exhale out your mouth.
Yes.
And we did that for 20 minutes.
The box breathing, right? Is that called box breathing?
No, it's just, I can't remember what they called it, but it was intense. And I was like, I can't do this. This is insane. So I took my breaks, and I would, jump back in. The way I felt after that very first session, I was like, what is this? I felt high, I felt relaxed, I felt joyful, and
So you realized in that moment, this shit is powerful.
Yes, oh my gosh, with just my breath, right?
Just your breath.
Just the breath.
Oh, it's so interesting.
And so I was hooked from then on. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
So how does Kundalini differ from other yoga styles you practice, right? The most popular is Vinyasa.
Yeah. Typically when people hear yoga, they think, oh, we get into a pose, we hold it, or it's a flow, and I love those styles too. But Kundalini is more, on a practical level, it's movement paired with breath work, meditation, and mantra.
Yes.
And I've always been a singer. I love singing. I love using my voice. And
you have a powerful voice.
Thank you. The mantra piece of the practice is probably what has spoken to me the most recently. Because interestingly enough, when you look at a cross section of our larynx and our voice and a cross section of the vagina, it's so similar physiologically. Isn't it?
God engineered that.
Yeah, because we create with our voice, and we
Yes.
also create from our sacral,
Right.
and so they work together.
So cool. I've never heard that before, but this is so interesting.
You should look it up whenever you have a minute, because it's just like, oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
So Kundalini is really about working with the life force energy that is said to reside at the base of the spine, and all of the practice is designed to draw it up the spine, hitting all of your chakras along the way, bringing you into perfect alignment and balance, and just activating that. And then that creativity, it permeates every single aspect of your life.
Yes.
Right?
When I'm in the car taking my son to school in the morning, I do the breathing exercises in the car because I gotta drive 30 minutes. But I use that time to, number one, do my breathing in the car.
I hope you keep your eyes open.
Of course. And also, just like listening to my favorite song, just like the act of singing along.
Yeah.
Just like, it's like we're singing in the shower, right?
Yes.
But singing loud, singing with your own unique voice, and getting those muscles trained, it's such an act of liberation.
It is.
Makes you, awake. It awakens you for real.
And I tell people, because I lead song circles too, I think singing in community is really important and powerful. And a lot of times people will say, oh, I don't really sing. And so I give them a little homework, and I say, in your car, turn on your favorite song and just blast it at the top of your lungs. Sing it, shout it, I don't care.
Yes.
And then just notice how you feel afterwards. There's a shift.
There is a
It
shift.
shifts.
There is a shift. That's exactly what we're after.
Yeah.
A feeling of empowerment. now, what is Kundalini fusion, and how did you create it?
Well, in 2020, there was a lot of stuff that came out about this guru called Yogi Bhajan, and we are very grateful that he brought Kundalini to the West, because back in the day, you had to work with, there was a lot of gatekeeping. You had to be accepted by a guru. You had to work with them for however long they deemed you needed it, and then they would teach you the practices, right? We're grateful that he brought it. He was also highly problematic, a lot of power struggle, and building this empire that kind of started to distort the purity of the practice. And so it hurt a lot of people. And so in 2020, there was a lot of Kundalini teachers that stopped teaching because of that. So
also reminds me of Bikram, by the way.
The same thing is happening, right? And it's all happening for us because we're moving it into an age where it's you are your own guru. We're not supposed to be following other gurus.
No kings.
No kings. Exactly. So fusion was my attempt to make Kundalini super accessible for people, and I was trained in a much softer way. We recognize Yogi Bhajan didn't create Kundalini. Kundalini is millennia old.
Just like Bikram didn't create Bikram.
Exactly. So that's my way of bringing in all the tools that I love, and also we don't need to hold our arms over our heads for 30 minutes to get the value of the practice. You can if you want, that's great, but we don't need to.
Right,
so.
I understand. And going back to Dr. Hawkins talks about power versus force.
Yes, right? I love that book.
Right, so whatever is coming from a place of force, that is, you must do these rituals, you must do these things. He says force is temporary, consumes energy, and moves from location to location, and is set to eventually fail. Just like think of all the dictators in the human history.
Always a fall.
There's always a fall, right? Because they're operating below the demarcation line of 200. Because ultimately love is non-linear. Love is expanded, requires an expansion of consciousness where you release the illusion of separation, and there is no more you having to force me into your own model of the world and thinking, into your own rituals, into your own structure, So I love to study more of that philosophy and seeing, just like you said, recognizing the guru within you. That sense of individuation, that's what Carl Jung used to call.
Yes.
It's such a powerful space.
And Carl Jung was super into Kundalini too.
He did? Really?
Yes,
I didn't know that.
He spent a lot of time in India and came back like, holy shit, like what is this? And then he did a whole series of lectures on Kundalini.
Really?
In the West. It was he was one of the pioneers bringing it out of India to Europe. So
interesting.
We love Carl Jung.
All right, good. Let's see, how do you teach students to move beyond performance and into embodiment?
That's a challenge for me. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and when I was a teacher, my mentor was literally like, this is 6 shows a day that you're doing. So there is a very performative aspect of teaching in the classroom because you're trying to keep their attention and all of that. And so when I moved into Kundalini, it was like, I don't know that this is going to transfer this way. So my attempt is, I am trauma informed, that's how I was trained, but always giving the power back to the student. It's always your practice.
Yes.
You can ignore every single thing I say, because that's really the foundation of a lot of my work with people is, what is your body asking for? Not what is the teacher asking for? What's the person next to you doing? Because it's different for every single person, and we're so disconnected from our bodies that takes practice.
Yes.
When I remember I was talking to a woman and I was like, well, what is your body asking for? And she was like, what the hell are you talking about? My body isn't talking to me. And I was like, oh, yes it is. But we don't listen.
Yes.
We're not taught to listen.
Yes.
So
interesting fact you mentioned is connecting from the body. So I grew up in Italy where we were mostly in a civilized city, right? Civilized meaning like away from the jungles, the fields, or the agriculture, etc. So we grew up always wearing shoes, right? You go to school with shoes. Your feet are always confined within, squished, and yes, your toes have no purpose anymore, right? You have no idea what is the importance of your toes, and then you had to relearn that by walking barefoot. by connecting with the earth,
Absolutely.
by feeling all the beauty that exists under the sole of our feet, and learning the balance, learning the intrinsic muscles of the feet, learning to spread our toes.
Yes.
Yes. So I like that. That's one of the reasons why I love stepping on the yoga mat barefoot. Now, let's talk about breath work. What role does breath play in your work?
I mean, it's everything.
It's everything.
Yeah. Yeah, most of us don't breathe in a way that best serves our bodies. So many of us are chest breathing, and you know, I've worked with people in the past where I'm trying to teach. So, you know, breath of fire is really from the navel. You're pumping from the navel.
Yes.
And for a lot of people, it's really hard because their diaphragm is literally frozen in place.
Yes.
And that is related to the root chakras, you know, feelings of safety and security, and being in constant fight or flight with your sympathetic nervous system. And so when we breathe, we're literally changing the entire wiring of our nervous system.
Yes.
That our world doesn't really support, honestly. If you're in the hustle and the grind, you're 9 to 5 and you've got kids and you're running, you know, it's really hard to train the body to drop into the parasympathetic. But breath does that for us.
Yes. Well, the body does it for us autonomically, right? Autonomously.
Right.
We have the autonomic nervous system. But when we consciously breathe, when we direct attention and intention to our breath, then it's like, you know, you're laser focusing on that particular now moment. And I use that in my massage practice, for example. You know, when I working on a knot on your trapezius or glutes piriformis. Well, all I do is to be the facilitator for the person who's getting the massage. And I say, you know, let's go ahead and direct attention and intention to this specific area. Let's laser focus and let the breath be a tool to melt your attention. I'm not doing it for you. You're actively involved and participating in the process.
Right.
And then so that the connective tissues will melt under pressure. And then when we release the pressure, there's this big flush of blood and lymph that restores circulation and energy flow. That's all the massage therapist does. In essence, you know, we don't use spinal manipulations. We just work on soft tissues. Now, what's your favorite mantra and why?
Oh, I don't know that I can say a favorite. I always say favorite is a tier. So it's a group of favorites. But the one I've been working with right now is Ek Onkar, Sat Nam, Waheguru. I love Waheguru because it just literally means like yay God. It's just a celebration of joy and recognizing the divine handprint on everything. And so whenever I'm struggling with some, I don't know, challenging emotions, or frustration is an emotion I struggle with often. Just like frustration, things aren't going fast enough or not going the way I want them to.
Because the ego wants speed.
Yes, and I want to control it. I want it to be the way I want it to be. And it's just kind of like, Waheguru, you know? But teaching that to a class, people have issues with the word guru, understandably. And so it's the deconstruction of that, you know, again, turning it back to you are your guru, it's your teacher within. But I also believe that there is a force outside of us that we're co-creating life with. So I don't know what that is, but I feel it, I experience 100%. It.
100%. And the way that I explain it, you know, our subjectivity, this is not my work, this is something that I listened to another gentleman named Peter Sage. Big shout out to Peter, amazing teacher. So he says that we're all starring in the movie called Our Life. So you are the protagonist in this one movie. You can only see reality through your own subjective lens.
Absolutely.
And everybody else is a movie extra in the movie called Their Lives. Right? So by recontextualizing the playing field, so this humanity that we are all in it, you can see how we're all players in this big movie called life, right? But when it comes to experiencing, you can only experience reality through your own subjective lens. You know, I cannot, when you are dealing with somebody with grief or in fear, right? You can see a person feeling the feelings, but those are not your feelings. Like, for example, you just mentioned, I'm going through the grief of divorce. I can empathize. I can be next to you and give you a word or express my presence. But I'm not into you.
Right.
You're the only actor embodying those emotions. And emotions are powerful, right? Emotions can either build or destroy.
Right.
So,
and our nervous system is literally creating our reality.
Yes.
So when we're working with the nervous system, you are changing your entire life.
Yes.
It's that big.
Yes.
Right?
And I'm sure you heard of Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh, yes, yes.
You know, he's another amazing person to follow on YouTube. One of the ways I perfect or I improve my English is to listen to podcasts every single day about all this contemporary spiritual mentors. So I recommend Deepak Chopra, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Peter Sage is another great one, Dr. Hawkins, although he passed away in 2012, and many others. Carolyn Myss, the incredible author of Anatomy of the Spirit.
I love her work on archetypes.
Yes.
I love the archetypes.
Wonderful. Let's see. How does energy medicine like Reiki integrate with movement practices? Are you familiar with Reiki?
I just was recently attuned this
Really?
summer.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So a beautiful friend of mine, Dr. Alana McNelly. She's a chiropractor, a Thai massage therapist. She does acupuncture, and she works out of Elite Movement in South City here, and her amazing wife, Sarah Norman. So they co-led this attunement. And, you know, for me, Reiki is powerful when I receive it. I'm still practicing using it with others. I don't consider myself much of an energetic empath. Setting boundaries is pretty easy for me. But I think that makes it more challenging sometimes for me to sense and feel into someone's energetic body.
Yeah.
So I'm empathic in other ways, but energetically, I don't know if that's going to be like the medicine that I'm offering. I'm not feeling at this moment,
I see.
but touch, of course, is so important and so valuable.
So you're talking about boundaries and feeling the energy in the room. You ever notice that, you know, you have a different set of students, each one with their own baggage from the day or of the day or the previous day? I call them sometimes, you know, the mood hoovers. They suck the energy vampires.
Energy vampires,
Energy
yes,
vampires.
we know them well.
They don't need to say a word, but you can sense the lower state of consciousness or the negativity, the negative frequency, right? And so, you know, one of the roles of the teacher is to maintain integrity into your own energy field, right?
Yeah. And that has been a huge message for me recently from my higher self was, you've got holes in your energy field. Look at where you're giving your energy away.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so I've been called in my meditations, they showed me this image of a deep well. I am a deep well, but I need to shore up the lining of my well. There are cracks, there are places where the water is leaking out. When I shore that up, I'm able to hold that full capacity of the well, which is what I'm designed and meant to do, as are you, as is everyone.
Cool.
So but that's challenging, right?
It is challenging.
We give it away when we're in traffic and we're like, oh, that's not, you know, we give it away all the time.
You have a choice to react in a certain way. Yes. Let's see. How do you encourage beginners not to feel intimidated? Because even for myself, if I have to refer people to you, right? So I have an incredible, great teacher, Claire, teaching Kundalini on Thursday mornings. So how do I encourage them to come to you?
I usually start with how they're going to hopefully feel at the end of the practice, because powerful breath work can be intimidating. I think it prevented me from jumping in for a while. And so I usually start with, when we learn how to access our breath to its fullest capacity, then everything changes in our internal environment. If you want more peace, if you want more joy. So I start with kind of what they're going to be walking out of with, hopefully. And then, you know, I believe that I create a space where everyone gets to play. And I say that a lot in my practice. It's like, it's all play.
It is all play.
So
I agree. And what I notice is that in this Midwest local collective consciousness is that, but just in the US in general, as a Western world, the introduction of practices that come from the Eastern philosophies are a little bit of a challenge for us, right? Because most people can only understand the traditional model of medicine, right? When you go to a hospital, let's say you get hospitalized, or you go to total access urgent care, right? They will scan the body through a physical lens. They will even identify how much pee you have in your bladder. There's a bladder scanner.
Yep.
They will count and analyze every atom of your body. They can scan your hair. They can look at your DNA. Right? Everything is physical. Everything is based upon the physical matter reality.
There's your Newtonian
approach. The Newtonian approach, exactly. Right. So they can essentially name any condition. There is a name based on the traditional medicine literature.
Diagnosis.
Right. Diagnosis, exactly. So you're automatically labeled with a condition. You are affected by the fill the blank of the condition you have. And so introducing the energy world to people, it was challenging for me too, coming from Italy, for example. You know, it all sounded very woo-woo, very esoteric.
People think it's bullshit, and it's it's science, actually.
Yeah, there is some science involved for sure. And now I'm getting more and more into this. So we're speaking more and more the same language, and hopefully we can spread this language to more and more people. What happens energetically when a group practices together?
I am so grateful for the technology of Zoom. You know, I taught virtually for the majority of like the beginning of my practice, but coming together physically, I think it's being able to be in the space with other people and being inspired by their practice as well.
Yeah.
But you energetically, you feel the intensity of the practice so much. It's so amplified when you're together. And I think, you know, we're meant to help each other heal.
Yes.
We're not supposed to be doing this alone.
Correct.
And so much of the Western world is isolated and individual, and it's the power of the individual, which I love. That's great. But we lose, I think, a lot of the power of the community.
Yes. During the pandemic, I felt so miserable thinking that I could have done yoga with my phone in front of me in my basement. Instead, I did everything I could to get out there, even with the mask on, to connect with the energy field of the group.
Yeah.
Yes, we're meant to collide. We're meant to interwave frequencies. Yeah, so we talk about energy frequency. You know, we got just like a battery's got the positive side and the negative side. You know, you can see where the teacher, the leader of the room, will be the high energy frequency individual, and those who are vibrating in the lower frequencies tend to draw whatever you have to say or give. That's why people follow you. That's how I see it. Just like when you go to church, you have the priest or the pastor that becomes the high frequency individual that people get inspired from, and you want to clap your hands, you want to vibrate in the same rhythm of the music. That's why when you put on the music, people start to feel a different experience.
Music, yes. But that's the responsibility of a leader, a teacher, a guide, and that's something I've been really stepping into more. It's like, because of the role that we're playing for the community and for the class, every single thing I do, think, say, matters in a more amplified way. And that's a gift, but you know, leaders are supposed to be servants.
Yes.
We're not supposed to be sage on the stage, you know.
Totally.
We're servants.
Absolutely. And also the ability to create more leaders.
Yes.
Right? Not just accumulating followers.
Right. You are a leader. You are your own leader. Yes, drawing people's gifts out of them.
Yes. But we all go through our ups and downs. There are days where, you know, I don't feel like I am a leader by
Totally.
And so that's when we reach out and you draw the energy from somebody who's vibrating higher that day. Yeah. And you call whoever you need to call. Ghostbusters!
Sometimes we need some Ghostbusters, yeah.
So now let's talk about this beautiful project I want to hear about. I only know very little about it, so let's have viewers explore this project called Eso Terra, Foundation and Women's Leadership. So what was the spark that created Eso Terra? What is it?
Oh my goodness. So Eso Terra is a mostly virtual community for women. And the whole concept was to create a space where women had radical access to all of these holistic healing modalities. That's kind of one arm of it. And by radical access, I mean we want to make this available to as many people as possible.
Yes.
And there's that fine balance of like, yes, we want people to get paid for what their value is and all
Yes.
that. And also, sometimes going to these holistic spaces are really freaking expensive.
Of course.
And so it excludes an entire economic group of people that
100%.
feels really shitty, right? So we wanted to make it more
In
of an
America,
exchange.
yoga is a very big commercially driven deal.
Yeah, yeah.
That's true.
But it's a fine balance. And so we created an exchange. The exchange is women pay a very minimal fee a month. It's $25. And then they get to, so the other arm of Eso Terra is bringing up New World guides. So there's a lot of people right now leaving traditional 9-to-5s. They're leaving marriages. They're leaving places that they call home.
Right.
And we wanted Eso Terra to be a place where those women are looking to explore their gifts in a different way. And so every quarter, every member provides an offering to the community, whether that's a yoga class, a song circle, and there's so much creativity. So it's been really fun. I serve as a mentor, so
Beautiful.
women come to me with their idea. They're like, I have this crazy harebrained idea. I want to mix storytelling with art, and and so then we creatively brainstorm what that offering can look like for the community. And so they offer that for free. It's their opportunity to play.
Right.
And experiment with what they might want to then eventually offer to the world at a cost, right? But so this exchange is us also moving away from this capitalistic exchange of like, you pay to go to a yoga class. And it's like, well, what if we all brought our gifts and started exchanging? Because then you offer one exchange and then you get 3 to 6 offerings a week that you get to pop onto and play with and experience for yourself.
That's great.
So yeah.
I love, one of my favorite mottos is cooperation is the new competition. Cooperation is the new competition. And especially in a world that has changed so much with global interconnectivity, you can gain or lose a client within the time of a coffee break, right? So it's important to offer something that people can recognize the value first, right? And to go and pay their money too, because money is, again, it's a universally acceptable medium of exchange to measure perceived value, not actual value, because actual value is subjective based, right? So, so it's very important for us to create this collaborative environment. And I think yoga studios are doing a great job. I think Annie of Blue Sky is doing an amazing job. I'm so grateful for her creating a space where we can all cross-pollinate. So what does radical access to healing mean?
It means making it financially available and also receiving the guidance and leadership training needed to step into the leader that you want to be. We also have a campus in Costa Rica. So my friend who also co-founded, her name is Kat Lindroth. She's a force of nature. She's a total catalyst for so many of the projects she's working on. But she turned her home into a campus. And so it's literally looks like this gorgeous tree house in the jungles of Costa Rica. And we're actually co-hosting a retreat there in January that's a creative activation retreat. Women come from all around the world. We do breath work, deep purpose work, writing. It's really focused on writing, dancing, music. And doing that in that space that is so sacred and healing. But that radical access means that
financial accessibility,
right? But also stepping into your purpose in a way that feels aligned.
I think that's the only way to create such an environment is through cooperation and tolerance, right? So I often say that environment beats your own will sometimes, because we are embedded, we are inside of a system that was already set by people, other people. There is the banking system, there is the credit card system, You know that in order to provide for yourself food and shelter, and you want your own personal private space, you know that you have to pay a set amount of rent, which is, with inflation, is going higher and higher. There are certain obligations, in other words, that you cannot circumvent as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
Now, creating a cooperative environment means that if you're creating a space where women or whoever can collaborate, you must accept the way that you guys are different, you know,
Right.
sometimes clashing ideas,
Of course.
clashing and butting heads,
Of course.
right? It seems like that the U.S. is very much of an individualistic society, right? You have your own social, your own car, your own space. Everything is set up in a way that you are the creator and the destroyer of your own life, if you want.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's all on you. Once you hit 18 years old, you know, you are legally independent, emancipated. Now your life is in your hands.
Which, after teaching 18-year-olds,
Yeah.
seems like a shockingly early age to just send kids out into
I
the
know.
wild on their own. Right?
It is, and it's terrifying because if you don't have direction yet, it's easy to fall trap of bad habits,
Absolutely.
starting with drugs, alcohol, smoking.
So you're trying to find your tribe, right? You're
Right.
trying to find your people.
Right. So upgrading your peer group, finding the right peer group that is conducive to healthy choices. I think it's a great step forward. Now, how does intergenerational wisdom flow at Eso Terra?
Yeah, so for me personally, the role of mentorship in my life has been all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I've had specifically older women come alongside me and just kind of take my hand and say, like, come on, little girl, let's go. You know, let me teach you what I know.
Yes.
And I've also had some male mentors as well. But when we're looking at creating at Eso Terra, we have created this intergenerational. We have high school students all the way up to women in their 60s and 70s. And so there's so much that we can learn from each other. There's so much these younger generations are teaching us. They're different. They're very different, and they're not bogged down by the bullshit that we've been raised in, right? They're like, no, we're going to be doing things differently. And then, of course, the older generations bringing all of their wisdom. And for me, a lot of that wisdom has been like, honey, everything is a cycle. This is going to change.
Yes.
This won't be like this forever, right? And so
like
learning
that.
from each other.
Acknowledging the law of impermanence. Everything is subject to change. Everything is subject
Older
to
people get that better than we do, you know?
I know. And I am, 47, so I can feel pragmatically that, time is precious, and I want to be able to live my older years in a state of wisdom, rather than just accumulating things that eventually I'm going to have to let go of. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be the richest man in the bucket. But now let's ask you, this is a big question, because I'm a guy, right? So I was born with the disadvantage of having a penis. No, I'm joking.
Not a disadvantage.
Not a disadvantage. But I was born, So why focus on women in particular? This is a big question I wanted to ask you.
Thank you for asking that. It's something that, as we've been developing Eso Terra, we've had to keep coming back to, especially, now with non-binary or,
exactly.
It's like, how are we going to manage this? And fully men's spaces and fully women's spaces are being challenged with this. And I think it's a good question. I think it's a good question for us all to sit with. We have decided to keep it women and female-bodied only because men and women are designed differently. These are large generalizations, right? We're not talking about everyone.
Yeah.
But women, I believe that women can only heal certain things to certain depths in the space with other women. And specifically for women, a lot of us are bringing deep, heavy trauma from our experience with men in a way that men don't typically have experience with women, if that makes sense. So women are constantly in our minds, are we safe?
Yes.
And we move through the world that way
Yes.
until it becomes in your awareness, and it's like, now one of my mantras is like, I'm never not safe. I'm never not safe. Always safe. I'm always held. But for most of my life, you're constantly heads on a swivel.
I understand.
Right?
Especially if you're an attractive woman, of course. I understand.
Well, and the world cannot be a friendly place. And so when we
Totally.
create these safe spaces,
Yes.
women's nervous systems are able
Yes.
to relax in a way that sometimes a male presence doesn't allow for.
I see.
And that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the man in the
No,
room.
I understand.
It has to do with trauma and personal experience.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, we're all involved, both men and women, in the act of creation, right? I mean, biologically, we're wired to reproduce, of course, to intermingle, so that new acts of creation, because creation works on growth and contribution. Those are some of the primary laws of the universe. So, and also I do understand that depending on where a man or where a woman is in their level of consciousness, if we're just talking about satisfying our primal needs, that is to feed, to get food and to get sex, yes, that's the lowest levels available of awareness. And so a woman can just feel like a deer out there in the jungle, more vulnerable physically, for sure. So definitely I can tell that as a man, our role is to provide a safe environment for everybody out there.
But I know that's challenge, and I've been learning. I haven't had a lot of experience working with men in the spiritual world yet.
Yes.
And so I'm excited for that in being back in St. Louis, because it has predominantly just been with women. And I think there's a time and a space for that.
Yes.
And then it's time to integrate, right?
Yes.
Because there are things and there are depths of my healing that I can't get to without the masculine presence.
Yes.
So
Can you, I've worked on over 30,000 bodies in my career. I have been a member of the American Massage Therapy Association for 15 years, and I'm board certified with the Board of Massage and Therapeutic Massage and Bodywork. And I can tell you from my experience that most people tend to default to female massage therapists because of different levels of comfort, right? But our role as male licensed massage therapists is to try the best we can to desexualize the experience, at least on your end, creating this boundary that exists, physical boundary, if you can think about it. Where else would you find yourself with an opposite gender, practically naked under the sheets?
Right.
But that's the most vulnerable position a person can find himself or herself, right? Regardless of how wealthy you are, how powerful you are, you're still at the end of the day a human being with all its vulnerabilities, right?
that's right.
Yeah, so it is a very important role for us professionals to create an environment where people can go to and feel trusted, feel safe.
I think it's amazing that that's one of your core values in your practice.
It has
because
always
it's important,
been.
right?
It has always been.
And when I moved to North Carolina, I get massages regularly. I'd always had female massage therapists for that exact reason.
Yep.
I found a male massage therapist, and I cannot tell you the level of healing I experienced, not just on a physical level, but on an energetic level, for my nervous system to be able to relax in the presence of this man and kind of surrender to the experience and leave my baggage and bullshit at the door.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yes. And on my end, obviously, not just talking about myself, but most of the other male therapists I know, because of the general mentality that exists in a very puritanical culture in the US, men are scrutinized much heavier compared to females as to what are the intentions.
Yeah.
Are you pursuing massage therapy because you just want to touch beautiful women?
Right.
Or you want to actually provide an environment that is therapeutic, protecting the therapeutic field.
Is that something you have to kind of check in with yourself?
All the time.
All the time, yeah.
Exactly. Because undeniably, we all have sexual urges, right? It's our prefrontal cortex, it's our executive power of the brain that can see and can prevent from, acting on your sexual urges. We don't deny that. They do exist, right? And but you just want to, again, provide the therapy for you're focused on what's for them first,
right.
the patient, the client.
You're the channel, going back
I am
to
the channel. Yes,
right?
I am the channel. Yes.
Cool.
Okay, so what does integrity mean in your community? Integrity, I love this word.
I do too. And hypocrisy, I would say, is the opposite of integrity, and that's what originally drew me away from religion.
Right.
And for integrity for me is the constant check-in, like you were just saying, with myself.
Yes.
And one of the big mantras in Kundalini is Satnam, meaning I'm truth. Truth is who I am, and truth, of course, is different for every person. There are some, objective truths, subjective truths, but integrity is making sure that my actions, my thoughts, my words are in alignment with who I say I'm about and what I'm being led to do.
Yes.
So,
yes, absolutely. And so you realize that there is a sacred part of you. There is the sacredness of your body that you want to maintain integrity of, right? Do you feel that some people decide or chooses to let go of their own sacredness by, essentially selling their bodies or giving away their dignity so easily? Think of all this people that go on to, what's it called? OnlyFans. Showing their feet, making millions and paying mortgages just by showing their feet.
Totally. And that's something that I can look at and say that wouldn't be an integrity for me, but who am I to say, why is it, that's not an integrity for you? That's not my business, right?
Sure.
So when I think of integrity, I think it's a very personal business.
Yes,
and
it is.
Someone else's integrity is not my business.
It is.
Right?
It is, absolutely. But how do you balance the willingness that you want to help other people, right? You see a beggar on the street at the intersection, and you know that person must have gone through, some level of hell to be where he or she is right now. If you go to Kensington, Philadelphia right now, there's like zombies walking the street under the effect of drugs. In order to get the drugs, they need to pay for the drugs. And most of them, they sell their bodies. They do whatever it takes to. Yeah. So it's hard to, to turn a blind eye to the realities.
Right, and I don't think we should turn a blind eye. I think we can show up and help however in our integrity feels right, But when we see people living in hell, it should trigger some compassion, some empathy. Well,
the way that I try to do it in my own little world is to be the example and the invitation, but not the obligation.
Oh, I love that.
So you have the option to show up to your mat, creating a therapeutic environment to the people around you. As you know, yoga, especially Blue Sky Yoga Studio, my home base for my sanctuary of grace and peace and wellness. But it is an environment that is essentially it strips you away from unhealthy habits. You're gonna find a fresh new space in the day of, smoke-free, alcohol-free, and access to pure oxygen, pure breathing. So those three components will really allow you to start putting the right things in the moment, and encourage you to stop putting the wrong things in. And if you keep coming back, being the body an adaptation machine, if you put the body into a yoga mat for 30 days, it will adapt accordingly in relation to the nature of the stimulus. That's what yoga does. That's been my natural healing pathway, the natural healing art. Let's see. What are the core pathways of Eso Terra?
Well, number one is community and building that space where women can come for the support that they need, because so many of us are isolated. And a lot of us in the community are kind of the only person like us in our physical location.
Yes.
And so we started to notice a lot of people were feeling that isolation of like, where are my people? Where are the people doing this work like me? And so community was number one. Number two is the holistic healing, moving away from systems that aren't working for us anymore. So we've got women leaving the education system, leaving the medical system, leaving the legal system, right? And it's interesting how that's being mirrored in the spiritual community too, with the fall of all these gurus. So all of these structures that we have over attached to and are no longer working, we're watching them crumble, right? And it feels like can feel like a scary and chaotic time. So we wanted Eso Terra to be that safe space where they can come and try some different modalities for healing beyond what they've been exposed to. And then the intergenerational piece too is connecting with women that you would never meet. I mean, there's women from all over the world, so it's just an incredible community.
Wonderful. Yeah. And so what about, like, you mentioned, stepping away from the legal field and the medical field. However, if an emergency happens, for example, right?
Sure.
You're going to have to deal with the legality of checking into the hospital and filling out the papers and the forms and having health insurance. All the technicalities that essentially are baked into our consciousness. So what do you think in our society, sorry?
Well,
because I know that in order to provide for my son, I know that I'm legally responsible so that he has a place to live, his own bedroom, he needs to have food on his plate, he needs to have, of course, clothing, but also health insurance. If something were to happen, right, the health insurance agency, when I'm there for his care, is not gonna talk about how I breathe or I do yoga.
But it's interesting, I have several friends who have completely removed themselves from that system. They don't pay taxes, they don't have insurance.
Okay.
And
off the grid, as they say.
Off the grid, as you would say. And I don't recommend that for people to just today cancel your health insurance, okay? But one specific friend who's also been a mentor to me, she changed her entire lifestyle so that, yes, our medical system is set up. It's great for emergencies, right? And surgery and whatever we need. But I've seen friend after friend after family member go to the medical system. They have no idea what's wrong with their body because they're not treating them holistically. They're just looking at what you were saying, the scans, right? And it's like, well, we better remove your entire uterus like it's freaking 1950. Wow. It's happened to so many women. And then after the surgery, they're no better off. And it's like, what are we doing? And then people working with the insurance companies. I have a friend whose daughter is deep in the mental health facilities that we have set up for people, which is just tragic. And so it's like, however long we as a collective continue to consent to this type of system, that's how long it will exist. Yes. And so when do we get to start stepping out?
So you'd inspire women to think twice before getting a hysterectomy, for example?
I'm not going to speak on anyone else's health.
Right.
But
you talk about yourself, your own body.
For my own body, removing any organ under the guise of, well, we hope this is going to fix, without me doing all the holistic practices I can possibly do before getting that surgery, seems silly and ridiculous. But I understand why for many people, if this is a new practice, it feels overwhelming. Oh, I need to clean up my diet, and I'm going to integrate essential oils, and I'm going to do the breathwork practice. It's a lot. Yeah. And so going back to kind of what you were talking about earlier, this purity culture is one of the things that drove me from the church too. It's like, oh, we need to be perfect. We need to be the perfect vessel for God. And it's like, it's a process. It's a lifelong process, right? Yes. Clean up your life one piece at a time. Yes. And I think when people think, oh, I got to get clean on all the things, they burn out. It's not sustainable. So it's got to be a natural.
What about cancer?
Oof,
cancer and chemotherapy. Let's say that you were diagnosed with cancer. Knock on wood. But how would you handle it first? If they say, okay, you got to go through chemo.
First of all, the word diagnosis, and my mentor broke this down for me, gnosis, Gnosis, means knowing. Knowing from our experience. So when a doctor looks at you and says, oh, your diagnosis is you have cancer, no, cancel
it's a label that you have to accept.
And now it gets stuck in your body that way. It's a spell cast on your body. Yes. And especially because the body's constantly changing. I mean, to have it frozen in this one state and say you have cancer and you're going to die in 4 months, like, no, that's not for me. if a doctor did say that to me, I would immediately go to holistic practices first. I'm not saying I would never get chemo because I've never been in that position, but I would start with frequency.
Yes.
There's studies coming out of MIT, Harvard, they're using frequency to clear cancer, break up tumors, like.
That's amazing. That's exactly what I was going to do, or what I would do.
You would?
Yes, that was what I would do. Because I heard that cancer starts happening when the person starts to vibrate at a low frequency. So what the first thing to do is to remove what blocks your natural high frequency, right? To remove the clouds so that the sun can shine. And so no, I would think if I had cancer myself, I would surrender to higher power that loves me, and I would just accept it as it is. We're all going to go some way, in some way. We have 100 years of best to live, if we can. But yes, so if my time has come, I would find the holistic approaches 100%.
Yeah, and we do not need to get into all of this, but if you're interested, go research how the Rockefellers set up the healthcare system in America. It's not designed for our health. It's designed to make pharmaceutical companies money.
Yes.
And so to keep us sick, serves them.
Definitely. These pharmaceutical companies don't have your best interest at heart.
No.
Their best interest of selling more drugs. So the more sick you are, the more the profits.
Right.
It's pretty obvious. But so let's see. How do you handle conflict or power struggles in sisterhood?
I love this question. So my co-founder in Eso Terra, Kat, I mentioned her. She's such a strong force, and she and I have butt heads a few times, both strong women. And
have you ever heard of the acronym HBIC?
Head bitch in charge?
Yes.
Hell yeah, I have. Yes, and working with women is unique in that way. And when we have butt heads in the past, it can get very volatile and emotional. And one of my energy mentors, a man, so that was very interesting. He really helped me with taking radical ownership of my emotional reactions. And his whole process was, and this may trigger some people, but women give their power away in majority through their emotional reactions. And if we do come in to know how to kind of manage and control that, then we're unstoppable, right? Yes. So with her, I put a lot of that into practice, and we have this beautiful relationship where we can kind of come at each other and be like, and then, but we both know that we're committed. Right. It's like a marriage, right? It's like, I'm not going anywhere. We're going to talk this out on the phone right now. And then we always bring it back to a place of like, I love you. We're doing this together. We have the same goal. And it's like, that can only happen though if both parties are willing to take radical responsibility for their bullshit. Yes. And humbling ourselves. Right. And saying, I'm sorry. Yes, saying I'm sorry, that's the big part. Yes. Right? Yes. So that's because it's the sense of pride which calibrates below 200. I'm right, you're wrong. You're wrong, right. Because if I tell you that you're wrong, automatically triggers in you a light switch that says into you, I am not enough in my particular place. And who are you to tell me that? Yeah. Yes. So that is the pattern there to be recognized. Yeah. But I noticed that maybe sleeping it over, like sleeping, waiting for the next day for the tension to dissolve. Absolutely. And then you wake up in the morning, you meditate and you breathe. You do your breathwork practice, you can see a new outcome that is always available. Love is always available. That's the common denominator. And when you know that we're mirrors for each other, it's like, well, what is this emotional trigger trying to teach me about myself? It's not about the other person ever, actually. It's like, well, what am I supposed to be learning? Yes, I love this concept of mirroring. It's fantastic. Yeah. Eye-opening. So tell me about your project. What do you hope Eso Terra would be in 10 years? We hope to just keep expanding it, having thousands of women join, learning how to step into their leadership, offering all of these creative new workshops and pathways for people. Like when we train up women to be in their authentic leadership, then they go change the world, right? Yes. So that's kind of and we want to be hosting retreats all around the world too. Yeah, wonderful.
can't wait to hear. And I know you have a busy schedule. I saw you were in the St. Louis area, really filling up your schedule with different things. Tell me about those. What do you do? How can people find you?
So amazing. It's just been open door after open door. I've met so many amazing people like Annie at Blue Sky and Joy at Joy of Yoga. So right now I'm building a yoga brand with a partner, and the brand is called Yin Yang Yoga. And we're looking for kind of a brick and mortar studio space that would be more than just a yoga studio. It's going to be a collective where people like yourself can come in and rent space and run your business out of there. Right now we're moving into the sanctuary in Clayton, where the owner Ashalia is.
Yes, I've not heard. I've heard about this place.
She also teaches Kundalini, so she and I are partnering in that and really just kind of planting seeds so I can get to know this community a little bit better, because I'm newly back in the St. Louis area.
Yeah. I know you're very active on your Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
My Instagram is Claire Vessel. It's CLAIREVESSOUL.
Okay.
Because everything is in and through the vessel, in and through the body, as Trevor Hall says.
Wonderful.
So.
It's amazing how in this modern day reality now people can have a storefront, a digital storefront.
Yes.
At a click of a fingertip. It would have been unthinkable just 10, 15 years ago.
That's right.
There's never been a time in human history where you can be a solopreneur or just an entrepreneur through collaborative efforts. Now I have a couple of questions about relationship with the masculine. Just let's keep it brief, just a couple of those.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask you the whole thing. Just a couple. So from your own perspective, how do you define healthy masculine energy? Healthy masculine energy.
Yes. Creating a safe space. I see it as like a shelter under which kind of blocking off any invasive or dangerous forces so that the feminine can be her fully blossoming self.
Right. Can I tell you a secret, not a secret, excuse me, my perspective of me becoming a yoga teacher, there's only a few of us. I mean, there's definitely the presence of female yoga instructors is overpowering compared to the masculine population. But, for example, as me, I have this very strong voice, very loud, project super loud. I noticed that some women might perceive that voice as an authoritarian voice that reminds to them their father figure, their fatherly presence, and maybe they were being yelled at when they were younger by their dads, and they don't want to hear that. They don't want to be told by a father presence or by a masculine guy that they probably never met before, or they don't want to become familiar with a masculine energy in that sense, right? Some other people find it soothing, they find that great, so it's been a fun journey for me to explore that.
And that healthy masculine is also super clear in his purpose and does what he says he's going to do, and creates that leadership in that way that is a service, but it's also that strength of the container, right? It creates the container.
Yes. So how can men show up more fully in spaces of healing? Let's say that you also do offer Kundalini classes open to everybody. It's not just for women.
Absolutely. And I think in terms of leadership or participating.
Ooh. Right?
Yeah, I would love more men to show up. I would absolutely love that.
The guidance I give to my fellow men to show up at yoga, for example, because some men can be intimidated. Oh, there's all these beautiful women dressed up, in this tight-fitting athletic clothes, and it's a very, believe it or not, it's a sexually charged environment, unintentional, but it is present, right? You get to see this beautiful body that you wouldn't see anywhere else, where it's socially acceptable. So obviously, the rule number one is watch what you say. Don't be creepy.
Don't be creepy. Yes, correct.
And keep your pants on. Those are the three standards to follow. It's not overly complicated.
Yeah.
And then be kind. Express kindness. Right. Be a best version.
Respect boundaries too.
Boundaries.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And recognizing that you are, as a man in this industry, going to have to be dealing with a lot of bullshit, unfortunately.
It is.
And bringing grace and compassion to that, but also setting your own boundaries of like, but I don't need to take that on for you, right?
Sure. Well, in my professional practice, I personally choose not to do adjustments on my on the students, just because you never know. It's not about how I am, but it's about how I'm perceived by other people, right? And that's how you protect. Touch. It protects my business. It protects myself. So I only do it when there are liability waivers in place.
Right. When
I feel that there is, people that know me, people that I can relate with, rather than just being silly. I often say I pick my battles and I take calculated risks as a man, for sure. So let's see. What role have men played in your own growth, if any?
Well, my very first energy mentor was a man in North Carolina, and he is a sound therapist as well. So I found him at a sound journey, and then he and I ended up working very closely one-on-one for the next 2 or 3 years. He changed everything for me and opened the door into all of this metaphysics, into the quantum stuff, into communication with my husband at the time that I was not able to do for myself. So him bringing that more masculine discipline to the spiritual practice was really powerful for me. And in terms of, I would say that's really kind of my only male teacher in that clear capacity. Otherwise, it's been, my husband has been one of my greatest teachers.
Nice.
Soon to be ex-husband, but him creating that space for me to practice conscious communication and taking ownership of my emotions. He was the perfect person for that, and he played his role perfectly, as I played my role perfectly for him. And now that we've outgrown that together, it's
that's great. That's good to hear. I love that you essentially in a very mature way, you're ending the relationship to open the path and wishing well.
Yes, absolutely.
It took me time for my ego to let go of my ex-wife as the part of my life partner forever. But we are sharing a beautiful purpose in this lifetime, that is to grow our son. Let's talk about ego. Is ego always bad, or can it serve a purpose?
Oh, it definitely serves a purpose. That kill the ego bullshit, you can't kill the ego, right? But my same mentor, he explained to me in a way that makes sense to me that the ego is like a toddler that gives us important information, right, about how we move in this world.
Yes.
But the toddler sits in the backseat. You're the driver.
You're the driver.
And it's recognizing when the ego is playing a role, maybe subconsciously, sneakily, and then saying, okay, get in the backseat, right?
Yes. Well, Dr. Hawking says that, ego is concerned with survival.
Absolutely.
So obviously ego protects you. It's what actually brought us to this point of level of, the comfort in life, because we were able to subjugate nature, and bend it to our will. So now we have a place that is semi-safe. But one of the most powerful statements by Dr. Hawkins was that the ultimate fear that we have for the ego is the fear of death. Once you transcend the fear of death, you're ultimately unattackable. There is nothing else. All the other stack of fears collapses, right? So one of the masterful tricks is to transcend the fear of death, and finding love, which is the other side of the coin that we want to be directed to. So let's see. So how do you stay humble while being a leader? Right?
It's in my definition of leadership. And this was a meditation I received a few months back, but again, I was in the temple and the goddess was there, and part of the meditation was like pull a tarot card mentally.
Yes.
What card did you get? And I got the Priestess, and I was like, ooh yeah, I got the Priestess card, you know. And then the goddess came in, and she was like, that's not what you think that is. Priestess is always in service to the temple, always in service to the higher good.
Right.
So bow down, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's not about you.
It's
and I
not
go into
about
every practice reminding myself, this isn't about me. This is about the practice. This is about being the channel,
Yes.
right?
It is.
Because when it becomes about you, that's when the power, it's when it gets all messed up.
That's very true. That's very true. Dedicating your life to service is an honorable goal. You know, yesterday I did a chair massage for a retirement home that was not paid much, but you know, it gives me such a sense of fulfillment. And when I serve my son, even though sometimes, you know, I am super tired, I'm exhausted, I know that I'm serving something higher than myself. Not just because it's my son, but you know, just being the act of service itself that fulfills your soul. Let's see. All right, so let's move toward the last part of our conversation. So tell us about the creative cauldron. Let's say cauldron.
Mm-hmm.
I say cauldron because in Italiano it's calderone.
Calderone.
So we put the accent on the
Feels good. Calderone. Yeah.
Tell us about the creative cauldron retreat in Costa Rica. What can people expect?
So the creative cauldron came out of my own practice and started with some dance. And as I was dancing, I started channeling messages from my higher self.
Yes.
And so I was journaling and writing stuff down, involved some tarot, involved some yoga and breath work. And I was like, oh, this is how to help people activate their creativity. So I started offering that to my writing clients first. That was kind of our opening ritual. So now my friend Kat and I are turning this into a 7-day retreat in Costa Rica. It's very close to Puerto Viejo, right on the beach. And we're starting every morning with Kundalini. We're like tapping in. And then we move into some different workshops that are very writing focused. So people do not need to be writers, but you just need to show up with a willingness to activate your creativity. And then a lot of the afternoons we're doing one-on-one work with people. Then they get to go down to the beach. They get to walk to the waterfalls. That's that time for writing that so many of us don't have. It's like, oh, I have this book, I just don't have time. And then in the evenings, we've got a beautiful meals are being catered. We get to eat together. And then around the fire, we're doing dance circles and sound journeys and song circles. And
That's
so
awesome.
I'm so excited.
So how do you balance personal space with collective energy on retreat, right?
Yes, that's why I wanted to make sure we built in plenty of downtime. Because I've been to retreats where it's like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., you know, and you're just exhausted by the time you're done. There's so much energy happening in the work, and so integration, it's like a shavasana almost.
Yes.
So most of those afternoons are open space for the individual to do whatever they want to do, whether that's something physical, whether it's sleeping, you know.
Especially in paradise like Costa Rica.
Yes, and soak it up, right? Enjoy it.
So how do you design safe and inclusive retreat experiences?
Yeah, so safety, it's an opening ceremony.
Yes.
And we set the kind of community norms really clearly. We want to communicate that very clearly, that this is a space for sharing. And also, we don't offer advice if it's unsolicited, you know. You can have those people that kind of bogart the group discussion, like, well, let me tell you what you should do. You're like, oh, yeah, okay. You know, so creating that safety, and also that this is the sacred container, and whatever shared here doesn't move beyond the container. So those are kind of the ways that we've established safety.
Wonderful. How do you prepare yourself energetically before hosting? It's preparing right now, right?
Yes, it's the daily practice, right? It's like every day I'm showing up to my own practice first. We do a lot of sage clearing before, saging afterwards, and then every night before I go to bed, I have a prayer and a ritual that I do to clear my space. To prepare me for deep sleep that then prepares me for the next day.
Good.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Now, personal reflections and fun. So what book has changed your life most?
Again, that's a tier, that's a group.
Maybe 3. Come on, the first 3.
I'll
I have
say
my first 3.
Conversations with God
By Neil Donald Walsh.
Neil Donald
Very
Walsh.
familiar.
opened up a whole new idea of what God is for me. Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, whole new way of knowing yourself and your gifts and what you're here to do. Yeah, I'm gonna say
watched
those
the
two.
movie Conversations with God? You know, they made a documentary movie out of the book.
What?
You haven't seen it?
No!
I have the DVD. I gotta give you the DVD.
Oh, I have no way of watching the DVD, but I need to find it.
I think it's on YouTube, so I'll send you the link. It's an amazing representation of the life of Neil Donald Walsh.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how actually I was aware of his work, through the movie.
Cool.
Yes. What song always brings you back to yourself?
I gotta go all the way back to church. That was my favorite part of church, right? Was the singing.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Yes, not that one, but yes. I'm gonna say anything by the artist Jennifer Knapp. She was really influential for me, and one of her songs that I always come back to is "When Nothing Satisfies You, Hold My Hand," speaking to God. So
cool.
Yeah.
What do you write in your journal these days?
Right now, it's been a lot of poetry for me to process some grief and anger. You know,
Oh, that's great skill to have, to write poetry.
Yeah.
I wish I had that one. What's one practice you cannot live without?
Hiking, being in nature. I
Yeah,
have
you
to
mentioned
be
you
in
just
nature.
been to telling me about it last weekend. What did you
Garden
go?
of the Gods, yeah, I did some backpacking out in Harrod, Illinois. It's a beautiful spot, but it's really important for me to unplug and just soak up the power of nature.
You said Gardens of the God. Garden of the Gods.
Garden of the Gods,
We
yeah.
have a similar thing in the Amalfi Coast. Just
Ooh, really?
There is a Sentiero degli Dei. There is a pathway that we call it the Pathway of the Gods, and it's a 20-mile strip that you can walk, and it will take you through the Amalfi Coast, and you see all these beautiful cities, towns built on the rocks, all the while enjoying the cliffs.
Wow.
And the lemon groves, you can taste some limoncello along the way. It's really good. Okay, this is the question that most people in interview will ask you. If you could give your younger self one message, what would it be?
You are infinitely valuable beyond what you ever could imagine, and act accordingly.
Yay! Well, how powerful. I love this message. That's what I tell myself as well. Claire, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your stories, and your vision with us today. Your journey from the classroom to Eso Terra, from poetry to Kundalini, to somatic retreats. This is such a reminder that growth is not linear, but a spiral. For our listeners and viewers, if you'd like to connect with Claire, learn more about Eso Terra, or join her upcoming retreats, I'll drop the links in the description below. And as always, thank you for joining us here at Yogaphora Wellness Series. If this conversation sparks some interest in you or something you just shared, comment with your reflections, subscribe for more deep dives with transformational leaders. Until next time, may you move through your life with presence, courage, and compassion. Grazie mille. Arrivederci, signora Claire.